You are listening to the Disney Dream Girls, an unofficial Disney Theme Parks podcast, and this is show 406 for Monday, the 25th of April, 2022.
Where dreams begin.
Well, hello and welcome to this week's Disney Dream Girls. I'm afraid there's no Jane this week, but I have sitting in the hot seat right opposite me, well, kind of opposite, thousands of miles away in Canada, is the wonderful Deborah Wolf. Hi there.
Hi, it's great to be back.
It's always great to talk Disney with you because I know we're going to get some food talk, we're going to get some outfit talk, we're going to get some race talk and some running talk.
Absolutely, I'm ready to go.
I gather from speaking a little bit off air, this trip that you recently done, you kind of can segment it into two different types of trips. So would you like to explain a little bit about how it all came to be?
Yes, I think everybody probably knows by now I am a Run Disney addict, and I was registered to do the Dopey Race Weekend in January 2022, and that's a 5K, a 10K, a half marathon, and a marathon over the first weekend after New Year's in every January. And because of the situation, the public health situation, and recommendations within Canada, I had to cancel that trip. So I was feeling pretty sorry for myself. But I was already registered for the Run Disney race in the spring called the Spring Surprise, I think is what I have a different name for it. I called it the Springy Thingy because it was kind of a ridiculous name that they had come up with it. And I was already registered for the spring weekend, race weekend, and it was going to be a typical race weekend of go in and be with friends and run races, and it was going to be super intense, just friends and running and eating, and that's just about it. And I thought, I've missed my Dopey race, and so kind of 3:00 in the morning, as I was feeling sorry for myself for not going to Dopey during the when everybody else was down there and posting their pictures, I extended my April trip for the spring race weekend, and I went in on March 27th instead of going in on I think it would have been March 31st. Mm-hmm. And I had a bit of a solo trip before I had a race weekend trip. So that's how it happened, and I'm really happy with how it turned out.
Fantastic stuff. Nothing like extending a Disney trip, really, is there? Let's be honest.
It's all about Disney math.
And if you can justify a trip by doing Disney math, and that's why us from the UK justify going for 2 to 3 weeks, because, well, it costs so much money to get there. You might as well spend more money while you're there.
It's true. The flights, our flights aren't as expensive as yours, but our flights are certainly more expensive than what Americans would pay to fly within the US. So going for fewer, longer trips is what I'm going to try and transition to in the future, as opposed to, a few years ago where I might have gone 4 times in a year. I'm going to try and go fewer times, but longer.
Sounds perfect for me. You can't beat a good trip because, you get into your stride by about day 5, 6. And, towards the end of the trip, you've seen everything, you've done everything, and you've got that quality time where you can just go back and mop up the bits you want to do again, or you quite missed, or maybe there was a meal that you enjoyed, you want to do it again.
That's right. And you want to hit the sweet spot of not leaving filled with regret that you haven't done anything, but not staying so long that you wish you were already home. And this is one of those trips where I was leaving on the Monday and I thought, this is perfect. I'm ready to go home, but I feel like I accomplished everything I wanted to accomplish. I saw all the people that I was missing and loving, and it was perfect length for me for this spring.
So where did you stay?
I started out at Animal Kingdom Lodge, and I stayed there by myself for 4 nights, and I did that on purpose. I stayed at a deluxe, and the cheapest of the deluxes, and there was a Canadian rate at the time that I booked it, and so I got quite a good deal, because it is a lot of money to spend for one person in a hotel room, but I wanted to be able to take advantage of the evening extra hours. Mm-hmm. As far as I'm concerned, they are absolutely worth it. So I stayed at Animal Kingdom Lodge for the first 4 nights. And then the second 4 nights, I have a very good friend who she's just so kind to me. She allows me to stay in her DVC with her when we do these race weekends. And so I finished the trip. The second half of the trip was in the Grand Floridian.
Oh, wonderful.
I'm very spoiled by having a friend who invites me along in her DVC rooms.
So comparing the two deluxes, which one was the better deluxe and why?
My friend and I spent quite a bit of time dissecting the room at the Grand Floridian because it was newly refurbished, and there were some really nice aspects about it. But she had just spent the previous night at Saratoga Springs, and then we met up and went to the Grand Floridian, and so. We looked at things like, the style, and the styles are different, but both beautiful, right? Like the Grand Floridian is more coastal and luxurious. Animal Kingdom Lodge is darker, but very animal themed, very African. The art on the walls in the Animal Kingdom Lodge, for anybody who is not going to stay there, but has time to visit, there's wonderful restaurants, and the art around the Animal Kingdom Lodge, both Kidani Village and Jambo House, is just stunning. You need to see it. It's authentic African art, and they're all described. It's just beautiful. We talked about the storage in the room. Animal Kingdom Lodge was great. Cupboards and drawers and shelves in the closet. At Grand Floridian, they replaced the dresser with a fifth sleeping space of a pull-down bed, a pull-down single. And so there was horrible storage space in the Grand Floridian. And some of the underbed storage was blocked by side tables. But the one thing that they had in the Grand Floridian, which is really nice, is the pull-down Murphy bed. And so the second bed, you can put it up during the day when you don't need a bed, and so you've got this lovely space with the couch. And then when you go to sleep, it's not a pull-out couch, right? It's a proper mattress. And that was really nice. The bathroom at Animal Kingdom Lodge was better than the bathroom at the Grand Floridian. However, there's a shower and a tub at the Grand Floridian in two separate spaces. So, I personally prefer the Animal Kingdom Lodge, but it's far, and you can only use the buses or drive or Uber. Whereas at the Grand Floridian, you can use the boat, you can walk over and use the monorail or the buses. So, it's different things for different trips. And I had spent a bit of time thinking about this, and I have booked a little bit of an extra stay after my next race weekend because it's my birthday, the few days after the Wine and Dine race weekend. And I actually went to the Dolphin because of the location, because you can walk both to the studios and Epcot. It's not a Disney hotel, and it's not as nice as the Disney hotels, but that location, you can't beat it.
I must admit, I love those hotels because I've stayed there before, and I just think it is an amazing location. They have some fantastic food options as well there. Their ice cream parlour, oh my word, is the best ice cream I have ever had. It was delicious.
At the Dolphin?
Yeah.
Interesting, because I've walked by it, I've never gone in it, and I tend not to eat at the Dolphin, where I would run over to the boardwalk or the yacht or beach. But I'll have to try that in November when I'm there. Maybe I'll have a birthday sundae for you.
Yes, there's nothing better than getting back from the park and going to that little counter and getting, my favourite ice cream is vanilla with some hot chocolate fudge sauce on, and it is such a decadent treat to sort of carry back up to the room and flop on the bed and eat the ice cream. Oh my word, on those heavenly comfy beds. Heaven.
You and I share a lot in common, and another one is my favorite ice cream is vanilla, and my favorite topping is hot fudge. So there you go.
You've just got to do it for me then. You just have to. But I've eaten at Blue Zoo, and that was amazing. And the quick service there, Peekaboo, is so good. You can't fault it. It's just everything you want on the go.
Yeah, the thing about the Dolphin is it isn't as themed to Disney. And now the buses aren't Disney buses. And so it's really not a problem for Animal Kingdom because they don't drop you off at the normal bus spot, but it's kind of the opposite side of the entrance. But for Magic Kingdom, they drop you off at the TTC.
Wow.
You just have to be aware of that. And if you're going to go to Magic Kingdom, you should walk over to the Yacht Club or Boardwalk to take the bus from the Dolphin.
Yeah, and you can walk. I love the walk. It's a great walk. Going back to the Grand Floridian for a moment, did you walk from the Grand Floridian on the new walkway at all?
I didn't. I wanted to, but the race weekends, they tend to be jam-packed, and I didn't get a chance to do that, unfortunately.
Maybe another time.
Yes, definitely.
Let's start with day one. Single girl, in the parks. What was your plan? Which park? What were you prepared with?
So I flew down on the Sunday, and I had splurged on business class. So and the plane down from Toronto to Orlando was the one that they would normally have on the Toronto to Hong Kong route. So it had the lie down seats, which I didn't take advantage of. But it certainly felt like a really nice way to, to go back into the world of traveling. Now I did go down in December, but I kind of set that trip aside because it was much more focused on my family enjoying themselves. So that was quite spoiled. And I had my friends, they picked me up at the airport and we went directly to Epcot. And so we essentially just went around Epcot and talked and laughed and we're so happy. I mean, it was for the one person I was with, it was 27 months since we'd seen each other, and it was just so nice to be in person. I mean, we do connect every day on Messenger and every week on Messenger videos, but to be in person and to be at the Food and Wine and to try the different foods. And the only ride we did was Soarin', and we got to sit in one of the side seats, so we got to see the bendy Eiffel Tower, which. I mean, I just find it highly amusing and a little bit, disconcerting that the Imagineers can't, get their heads out of their butts and, get that fixed, because there's easy fixes to that type of thing. But it was just such a lovely first day of, some of the various food. And I have to tell you, Michelle, and I imagine you're going to want to talk about the food, but those deep fried, I'd have to go and look at what the name is, but they're deep fried and there's cheese inside and then there's cinnamon sugar on the outside and then there's icing and there's candied bacon on them. They were fabulous.
Yeah. Bacon. What kind of bacon?
It was a real bacon. It wasn't like a manufactured bacon bit. It was a crumbled bacon.
Okay, if it's proper meaty stuff rather than those chemically sort of synthesized things that you sometimes used to get. You know when you went to Pizza Hut and you could have those bacon crumbles on top of your salad and they've been nowhere near bacon?
I know exactly what you're talking about, and I was worried about that, and I was so pleased to see that it was actual real bacon.
So happy. Doing a little happy dance over here. And these festivals, oh my word, I can't believe how long that some of them are going on for.
I saw the dates for Food and Wine for this fall, and it's crazy. What is it? July something until the middle of November. It's just insane. But I mean, it's wonderful, right? For those of us who go, it's just so nice.
It is. It's really, really good because normally when I go away, we'd go the middle of August to the last week of August because it was a little bit cheaper because the American school system is normally back and the UK system, it's a little bit cheaper for us to come. But Food and Wine wouldn't start until September, so we never got to see it. We wouldn't see Halloween or anything like that. Now you can go in July. I'm just wondering when they're going to be putting up the Halloween decorations, whether that's going to be July, and the first Mickey's Not So Scary is the 1st of August.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they do drag out their holidays for sure. What I was realizing when I was planning my wine and dine is that the Christmas decorations will be up because that's the first weekend in November, and I'm staying into the second week in November, and they'll have the Christmas decorations up by then. So that'll be nice to see.
It's nice when you can get 2 for 1, where you can get the standard season and then an enhanced season.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. So, one attraction on your first day, but next day you stepped it up a gear and you were there for the attractions. So, what was your plan? Did you have to go down the Genie Plus Lightning Lane route to get all of these attractions? How did you do it?
So, what I did is I scheduled my trip based on the extra evening hours that deluxe hotels get. So the way that Disney has gone now, instead of having extra magic hours every night for one of the parks for all on-site guests, they now have deluxe hotel guests only, including the Swan and the Dolphin, get 2 hours once a week at Epcot and once a week at Magic Kingdom. Now, normally it's Monday at Epcot and Wednesday at the Magic Kingdom, but for whatever reason, for this week, it was Monday at Epcot and Tuesday at the Magic Kingdom. So I really planned those 2 days, those 2 solo days, around those extra extra evening hours. And so on the Monday, I did Magic Kingdom early entry. My province in Canada is Ontario, and we have been one of the most conservative in the world in terms of opening. Mm-hmm. More our mandatory masks for 2 years. No restaurants for a long time. So I'm coming from an environment where I'm used to none, not many people around me, and certainly not unmasked people around me. And I was kind of a little bit concerned about how I would react being in an environment where there's tons of people around and nobody has to wear a mask anywhere but on a bus. And so I just said, I'm gonna go on the Monday morning to Magic Kingdom, and when I stop feeling comfortable, I'm gonna leave. And so, but I was there for early entry, and now every park early entry every day for all on-site guests. Fantastic. You only get 30 minutes extra, but if you're there about 30 minutes before it opens, you can really get a lot done. And so what I did on the Monday morning, I was there for early entry. I knew I was going to be back on the Tuesday night for things like Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. And so I focused on things like Peter Pan and Pooh and Jungle Cruise and the TTA. And I did those for the early entry and the first couple of hours. The other thing I prioritized at Magic Kingdom on the Monday morning was the Nutella and berry waffle at Sleepy Hollow. Now, I don't eat bananas, but if you mobile order, you can have the bananas removed. And so, but I tell you here, how do you start your holiday best at Disney World? You go to Magic Kingdom, you have the waffle with the Nutella and the strawberries and the blueberries, and you sit and you enjoy it and you take pictures of it and then you eat it, and it is just magic. But yeah, there is some customization allowed in the mobile order, and the mobile order is fantastic. I mean, essentially, I want to eat at wherever, and then as I'm walking over there, I would mobile order and click I'm here, as I'm walking up to the restaurant, and typically within the next 5 to 10 minutes. Now you have to watch, because sometimes if it's a busy time, the available times might be a bit later, but I didn't have much problem with that at all. Mostly things were available.
So you hit out quite a few rides while you were in the Magic Kingdom. What came next?
I did a quick trip to Disney Springs. Mm-hmm. It was the second or third last day for the annual pass magnets. And notwithstanding the fact that I live in Canada, I do have an annual pass. Just having 2 longer trips a year, or 3 or 4 weekend trips a year is worth it for an annual pass. And I wanted the magnet, and I wanted to do a little bit of shopping. And then I went back to the Animal Kingdom, and I had a nap, because I was going to go to Epcot and do the evening hours at Epcot that night. And so that worked well. The buses worked out quite well. That's always a worry with Animal Kingdom Lodge, is how long the buses are going to take to wait for them. But a nap, and then back to Epcot, food with Flower and Garden food booths, and then a bunch of rides. Club Cool's back open, so that's always a joy to go and have some pop from all sorts of different countries at Club Cool. And then I just did ride until I was ready to go back to my room.
And you hit it out of the park with some of these. You're able to do Mission Space, Test Track, Ratatouille, and Frozen.
Yep. Yeah, so what I did is I sacrificed Harmonious for Ratatouille. I went and lined up for Ratatouille just as Harmonious, the nighttime spectacular, was starting, and I waited less than 20 minutes.
Wow.
For Ratatouille. And then I did Frozen, which, during the day, Frozen tends to have an hour and a half wait. And I think I waited 10 minutes. And then I knew that the Tuesday morning I was going to be at Animal Kingdom early entry. And get this, the park was opening at 7:30 in the morning. So early entry was 7 a.m. And so, closing down Epcot and then opening Animal Kingdom the next morning meant it was a short night, but it was so worth it.
Getting into the park early, you were able to hit out quite a lot of those really long queue attractions.
One thing that kind of messed me up with Animal Kingdom on the Tuesday morning, I was there for early entry. I was there about, as I said, the park opened at 7:30, so early entry was at 7. I was there probably 6:20, 6:25. I was at the front of the line, and I was on Flights of Passage. I was probably on one of the first shots through of Flights of Passage, and of course it's wonderful. And then Navi River Journey, I think less than a 3-minute wait for Navi River Journey. Dinosaur, again, a walk-on. Got to Kilimanjaro Safaris, 50-minute wait. Whoa. And the only explanation for that is that some animal must have been on the path. But I was, standing in line, and what was hilarious is there was a child, maybe 3 or 4 people behind me, singing Old MacDonald Had a Farm over and over and over again. I was thinking, oh, this is going to drive me bonkers. And then I realized the lady in front of me had on a race shirt from a marathon in Minnesota. So we just ended up chatting for the next 30 minutes about running and races and, running in Disney. And it was just, I find that Americans are very friendly and they will just talk to anybody. And we just had a delightful time in line. And the time passed in a snap, even though, as I said, it was 50 minutes. It was great and a wonderful safari. Lots of animals out and moving around. So it was great.
I must admit, if you do anything while you're waiting in a queue, find someone to have a good chat with. It's such an amazing thing because you've got that thing in common that you're in this place because you love Disney.
That's right. And, I think that Britain and Canada, we tend to be a little bit more reserved. It's worth it to have a chat with other people. You learn about where they're from Minnesota and kind of like Canada. They're close to Canada. Their accent is similar to ours. And she was a runner. And so we were able to talk about all the different runs that she's doing. She's preparing to do the rim to rim to rim in the Grand Canyon, which is a daunting experience. But I would love to do that at some point, but it's great to hear how her training was going. It was wonderful. Totally worth it to have a chat with people in line.
Absolutely. Surely by this time you were getting peckish.
Well, Michelle has my cheat sheet. I had a cupcake. And the cupcake looked beautiful. It was a lovely white, and I like a white cupcake with buttercream icing. It was dry. It was dry.
No.
Yeah. How can you go wrong with a cupcake at 9:30 in the morning? And so I took my pictures of it. I sent my pictures to my family, and I said, "Look what I'm having for breakfast for second breakfast at Animal Kingdom." And I did enjoy it, even though it was dry. Lots and lots of icing. That'll go a long way to helping with the dry cupcake.
Yeah, absolutely. And then another busy afternoon.
Well, I took a long nap, actually. I was done Animal Kingdom. They say, it's a half-day park. And right now, I think without some of the things that are normally offered at Animal Kingdom, I think and for me, and when it opens at 7:30 in the morning, it is a half-day park. I was able to do the Animation Academy out at the, you take the train ride out to the Rafiki's Wilderness. What do you call it? Rafiki's Planet.
Okay.
Watch and do the Animation Academy. Fabulous. So much fun. Do it when you go on your trip. It's just great. I had a hot dog at Thule Canteen. It's on the kids menu. It's perfect. Saw kite tails, and I had a long nap. And then I went back to Magic Kingdom for the evening and their extra magic hours. And I just did ride after ride after ride. And I had a hot fudge sundae. So I was on the nutrition, the dietitian recommended diet plan on this day of a cupcake in the morning and a brownie sundae for supper. Awesome.
Looking at the list, you've got over 15 attractions you managed to do in a day. Without Genie Plus, without Lightning Lanes, it's possible.
That's right. I probably could have increased that to 20 or 25 had I had Genie Plus. That's the one day where I think I should have had Genie Plus, because I could have, even though the lines were maybe 10 or 15 minutes long in Animal Kingdom, I probably could have walked right onto all of them. And I could have been stacking my rides in the evening at Magic Kingdom. And so some of the rides, so when I got to Magic Kingdom, it was still busy and it was open till 11 p.m. and the extra evening hours went until 1 a.m. I probably could have done twice the number of rides that I did at Magic Kingdom had I had that Genie Plus. But I just did ride after ride after ride. I watched Enchantment from behind the castle. I wasn't comfortable with standing with the crowds in front of the castle. And so I missed the projections, but it meant that I was well placed to whip through the rides in Fantasyland after Enchantment when a lot of people were leaving the park. It was fun. It was great. I mean, the weather was perfect. At that point, there was still snow here in Ottawa, and in Florida, it was, the temperature was in the high 20s during the day and Celsius. And then in the evening, it was just nice for a light sweater or a long sleeve T-shirt. It was so nice just to be there and, in that environment, listening to the music and being with people who are mostly happy. I mean, you can always hear some crying children, but most of the people were just happy to be there, and it was fantastic.
Now, so far, there's one park you've not mentioned.
Yeah. So the Wednesday morning, I had Studios on my list, and you can hear my voice change. It was not as successful as my experience at Magic Kingdom, Animal Kingdom, and Epcot. It is just jammed packed all the time. Now, one thing that I did is I booked an individual lightning lane for Rise of the Resistance. Now I made a strategic error on that, which we can talk about in terms of booking it and the timings. But as far as I'm concerned, that's one of the rides that's very worth it to book an individual lightning lane. But the park is so jam-packed. And I guess, think about it. They got rid of Lights, Motors, Action, which probably took, I don't know, 1,000 people 4 or 5 times a day, and they replaced it with a couple of rides that don't have that ridership. They got rid of the Great Movie Ride, which probably had a throughput of maybe 1,800 people an hour, and replaced it with one with 1,200 people an hour. Beauty and the Beast isn't running full time. The Indiana Jones ride is just back up and running. Tower of Terror is only running one elevator, so it's about a third to a quarter of its normal throughput. Rock and Roller Coaster was down for the first few hours. There's just not the stuff to do to eat up the crowds at the studios, and it was actually miserable. Now you can see I did Rise of the Resistance. I did Rise of the Resistance later in the day, but I got the lightning lane. I did early entry, and I did Tower of Terror because I knew that the lines there ended up being an hour and a half to 2 hours long all through the day, every day while I was there. I did Toy Story, I did Star Tours, and then I waited to meet up with some friends who were, thinking that they would want to do a few things at the studios, and we didn't end up doing that because it was so crowded. We decided to go to Beaches and Cream rather than face the crowds continue to face the crowds at the studios.
I don't blame you, because there's nothing worse than being in an environment where it's just, you can't move and everyone's everywhere in your face and everywhere needs a ride, a long queue, and it's just draining.
It really is. And I think that the studios, at this point, the studios is the worst for that. And I'm still wearing my mask whenever I'm in a crowd or whenever I'm inside. And I ended up wearing my KN95 for the whole day. And it's a little uncomfortable. I don't mind it. It makes me feel comfortable. It's kind of my little security blanket. But when you're in a line for 2 hours for a 3-minute ride, and then you're in another line, I was in the line for Rock and Roller Coaster. It went down. Like it just felt like, right after it. But it was fabulous. With friends, we went to Beaches and Cream, and then we went into Epcot and had a chat and a drink, and then I went back and I did my individual lightning lane of Rise of the Resistance, and we can, the timing wasn't perfect for that. At that point, I knew I was going into the race weekend for the rest of the weekend. That was Wednesday. And I just said, I'm going to go and have an early night. I went in, I watched, I had started a movie on my flight down to Orlando, and I hadn't finished it. And so I watched a movie, and I had probably my first 8-hour sleep in a couple of years. And it was fabulous, and I woke up ready to move into my race weekend part of the trip.
So let's move on. Nice little segue then. Race weekend. I believe there's some kind of expo that kicks it all off.
That's right. So the expo is where you pick up your bib, and you need to wear your bib during the races to prove that you're registered for the races. You get your T-shirts. And there's an expo where vendors are there to sell things to the runners. So it might be sunglasses or running skirts or running shoes or fuel that you need during races. And so I went a little crazy, and I bought sunglasses, even though I don't need any, and I bought running shoes. Those I actually needed. I bought running skirts, which I don't need, but they were some beautiful styles. So I bought some of those. And it's always nice to go to a race expo because it's just hundreds, if not thousands of runners all together, all excited about the races that you're going to run that weekend. And it was a lot of fun.
Fab. So what comes next?
So this race weekend is a different race weekend than the others that were normally held over the last few years. And what they did is they ended up bringing back a few old favorites that haven't been run in a number of years. And so the first one was the Expedition Everest 5K, which is funny that they held that because Expedition Everest was actually down for refurbishment, but it was themed to Everest. And it was a nighttime 5K. It started at 10 p.m. and it was supposed to have a scavenger hunt with it that was run through an app. Now, the weather, they were calling for thunderstorms and torrential rain, which did come, fortunately, after we got back to the hotel. But they shortened the race and they canceled the scavenger hunt for that night. But you could log into the app later in the weekend and do the kind of, the quiz part of it, as kind of a game, an online game, which was fun. It was a bit of a diversion for a couple of hours while we were getting out of the heat one day. But it was so fun to be running around Animal Kingdom at night, and a bunch of us wore dressed up like Russell from the movie Up. And it was so fun. All of these little Russells, all of these little wilderness explorers running around the park. I got to run through Pandora at night with the glow, the glowing that happens in Pandora on the walkways and in the trees and the plantings. It was just beautiful. So that was a really nice way to start the race weekend.
Sounds absolutely beautiful. If you're going to run through somewhere, you want it to be, an enjoyable experience and have a little bit of a treat. A number of people have said to me, you've got to go to Pandora in an evening, it's beautiful, but to be able to run through it must have been really nice.
It was, and I agree. Although now with the 7:30 opening, or in March with the 7:30 opening, you can be there for sunrise as well. But being there in the dark is special. The way the lighting works, and they change the sounds a little bit, it is kind of spooky, but also really special. Really, really lovely.
Next day just happened to be April Fool's Day.
Oh, yeah, which I'm not a fan of April Fool's Day, and so it was fine. There was nothing April Foolish, although my friend and I did kind of play a little bit of a joke on my daughter. She was asking me about, when are you coming home? I want to go shopping with you. You promised to buy me a dishwasher for my new house. Can we do that? When are you coming home? We want to do that soon. And I said, I'm sorry. I'm supposed to come home on April 4th or whatever it was, but I'm going to stay longer. I bought DVC. And there's this big long pause in the messenger. You know how in Messenger you can see, and then I get a profane message back. WTF? What are you talking about? You bought DVC? And I'm like, yeah, and I got a free week, and I'm going to stay here for longer, and I might even stay for an extra week after that. And then, this long pause with the dots going in the messenger. We were very amused. My friend and I were very amused as we're watching this, and it was very, very funny. So I did play a little bit of joke on my daughter, and then I videoed her and say, no, I didn't buy DVC. I will be home. We can go and buy your dishwasher. Don't worry.
Oh, bless. Bless.
But yeah, so we slept in, having a race that starts at 10 p.m. I don't think we got back to the hotel until, midnight or 1 a.m. Slept in a little bit and just had a bit of a relaxed day. Epcot, had a big lunch at Le Cellier, which was lovely. Did a couple of rides, and then an evening at Disney Springs with just a quick evening, because the Saturday morning we were starting the real race weekend with a 5 a.m. 10K. And so you have to leave your hotel by about 3 a.m.
Wow, that is dedication to be up at that time.
And that's why a race weekend is not a normal trip to Disney, right? It's you have to be in bed a little bit earlier in order to be up at those times and get to your race start.
Yeah. And who did you dress as for that race?
So the 10K was themed to, it was called Race for the Taste, which is an old race. 10 or 15 years ago, I'd never actually even heard about it. It was before I got involved in Run Disney, which was in 2013 was my first Run Disney event. So it must have been well before that. I wore a dress that I had purchased through a woman out of Montreal who does print to order fabrics, and it's got snacks, Disney snacks on it. So it has, the pretzel and the Dole Whip and Mickey bars, and so I wore my snack dress for that race.
Perfect.
And the way that you do the one of the best things that you do on a race weekend is you have a 10:15 in the morning ADR at Oga's, and you have alcoholic beverages in the morning after a race. And we did that.
Well, for you, it'd be like 7 o'clock in an evening.
Yeah, there's something about having a fruity cocktail at 10:15 in the morning. You can just pretend it's your orange juice, your breakfast orange juice.
Yeah, you're on holiday anyway. It doesn't matter what time you want an alcoholic beverage. You want one at 8 a.m, girl, you go get it.
That's right.
Fabulous. And it sounds like you had a really good day at DHS getting in some of those big attractions again.
Right, and there was a torrential storm that day. In fact, I'm surprised we didn't get hit by lightning as we were running from the Frozen show to Star Tours. I think there was a lightning strike right, like probably 10 meters behind us, and fallen branches and standing water. I was soaked. Like, you're soaked when your underwear is soaked, and that definitely happened. It was pretty bad.
I must admit, I saw a picture that you posted, and you all look absolutely drenched.
Drenched to the skin. Yeah, absolutely. But we stayed. We did Star Tours. We lined up for Millennium Falcon. Thing is people were going into the lines to avoid the rain. So we waited about an hour for Millennium Falcon. But it was so much fun. It was so much fun. We had a great time.
Better than being in the rain.
Yes.
Next day, was it 10 miles?
Yes. We started the day with a 10-mile race, which is shorter than a half marathon. And it was just such a lovely distance. And there were a group of us who ran it together. And we got all sorts of pictures. And I was dressed as, we went through Hollywood Studios. So I dressed as R2-D2 for this race. I have a dress that's actually it's a girl's dress. So, like, I don't know, size 12 or 14. It's a little hard to get on. But once it's on, it fits me. It is perfect for running. And we ran that race, and it was a lot of fun. It was called the Tower of Terror 10-miler. And again, this is a race that they no longer do. And so there were a lot of people dressed as Tower of Terror attendants, the elevator attendants. So tons of people dressed up like that. I kind of didn't want to do that because I knew everybody was going to be doing that. And so I did the R2-D2 because we were running through Galaxy's Edge.
Makes sense. Nice picture opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And then, normal people go back to the hotel and collapse. But, oh, no. You then went and hit Magic Kingdom.
Yes, of course. That's what you do on a race weekend. The best way to recover from a race is to go and walk around. It's well known. We, started the day at Magic Kingdom with a cinnamon bun. And a lot of the time that we spent in the Magic Kingdom was getting different photos with our medals. At this point, we had a 5K, a 10K, a 10-mile, and a challenge medal. And so, you carry those around in your bag, and they are heavy. And then you get pictures in various locations with your medals. And then you just put the pictures away and you never look at them again, but it's fun to do it at the time. Yeah, we had a great late morning and afternoon doing that. I just missed being able to have that delicious Nutella waffle again. They only serve it to 11. So if anybody wants that waffle, you have to get it before 11.
Oh, but the cinnamon bun's a good alternate.
It's okay. I'm not a big fan of the Gaston's cinnamon bun. I thought I'd try it again. I hadn't had it in a few years. It's okay.
You see, one, for me, it's a sharer. And two, I always get an extra serving of the icing because who can't refuse icing?
I love my icing too, but it's a maple icing, and it's just coming from Canada. I'm a maple purist. I don't want my maple to be chemical maple. I want it to be real maple.
You should maybe go and speak to the chef and tell him how to make it properly.
Just get a maple tree in the backyard.
Yeah. If they plant it now, it might sort of elicit some maple in the next, 20 years?
Maybe. That's true.
But it does sound like a really good day, going through a load of attractions, and you went and ate at one of those places I love to go and eat in the Magic Kingdom, and that's Skipper's Canteen.
It was so fun. Our skipper was excellent. We were seated near the kitchen, which normally you wouldn't think would be a good thing, but every time she went by our table, she would tell us a joke. And it was so much fun. She was just great. And we had, one of the things they have there, which I don't think is on the menu, are those little Brazilian cheese buns.
Mm.
And we had 2 orders at our table. They were so good.
Oh, I so want one of them now. I've seen pictures. I cannot wait to be able to go and eat there because my friend Anthony is a big Skipper Canteen fan. So I'm sure we'll have to try and sneak into there somehow.
Well, and one of the things that I like for Skipper's Canteen is they have a really broad appetizer menu. So you can actually have 2 appetizers as your meal because the meals are huge. The food is huge. Normally when I go on a Disney trip, if my daughter's with me, we split our meals or I have a child's meal. But for me, another alternative is to have appetizers, and they have really unique and delicious appetizers. I mean, when it opened, the menu was maybe some people thought it was a little bit too out there. And now it's maybe a little bit more Americanized in terms of the flavors and the variety. But some of the appetizers are still more unique, different flavors, more spices, more combos. And I really, really like it. It's also a beautiful building. And the skippers that I've had there have always been fabulous.
And there's so many wonderful hidden details when you start looking at the names of the books on the spines and the exhibits, the artwork and everything. It's just a wonderful experience to go and wander around.
It is. It's got different rooms. And so the different rooms have different character. And it's a really nice spot. I highly, highly recommend it.
Sounds absolutely amazing. I am quite jealous of what an amazing trip you had. Thinking about the cost of the races, do you still feel that there is value for you as a runner in comparison to the amount of money it costs to actually do them?
Well, the Disney races are more expensive than other races. Oh, I don't remember how much I paid. This tells you how much I pay attention to that aspect of it. The Dopey races are in the between $600 and $700 US. So this probably was, I don't remember, but maybe $300 US. So it's a lot of money when the Canadian dollar is in low 70 cents. It's a lot of money, but for me, it's a high priority. It's one of the things I do. It drives my training. It keeps me active and healthy, and I have a wonderful community of friends who I see at these races. A local race here, a 5K might be anywhere between $40 and $75 Canadian. I registered for a challenge, a 5K, a 10K, and a half marathon for May in Ottawa, and it was probably a couple $100. So it's maybe half the price, but there's less with it. You aren't at the parks. The expo is minuscule compared to the expo you get in Disney. And here, it's not like all of these people are coming from all over the world to meet up and spend time with their friends and do the races. So when you do the Dopey races, you've got people from Switzerland and Scotland and Australia and Canada and all over the US coming together, meeting up, having different meals, walking around the parks together. For me, the money, yes, it's a lot. For me, it's a high priority.
And it's down to that old age adage, isn't it? You work hard, you choose how you spend your salary. And if you want to spend it on a room full of pop vinyl, go ahead, enjoy it. If you want to spend it on a race, you want to spend it on a cruise, a Disney trip, you've earned it. Go and enjoy it.
Yes, that's right. I think that, it is all about priorities. I make a lot of decisions about what I'm going to do and what I'm not going to do. And at this point in my life, travel is more important than some other priorities might have been earlier. And I think that type of experience is important.
No, it all sounds absolutely amazing to me, and I totally agree with you. At the moment, it's travel, because there'll be come a time I won't be able to do it, like for the last 2 years, and I've missed it. So to be able to get out and be able to do that, touch wood, it's enjoyable. Well, guys, thank you very much, Deborah, for coming onto the show and being such a wonderful guest.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure.
If you want to know more about the podcast, hop on over to DisneyDreamGirls.com. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter at DisDreamGirls. But until next week, it's a goodbye from me.
And a goodbye from me.